Vamos continuar com esta partilha de experiências, de conhecimento, de informação, que são a razão também porque estamos aqui, não é? Agora vamos passar à apresentação de Jutta Hirscher. É diretora de Comunicação da AMSEL, Ação, sobre a Esclerose Múltipla na Alemanha, da Sociedade Alemã de Esclerose Múltipla. Trabalha há mais de 20 anos em projetos de comunicação, relações públicas, comunicação digital, multimédia e recolha de fundos. Vem falar sobre a MS Cognition, uma aplicação divertida para treino cognitivo e que está a ser traduzida para português.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction and thank you very much for the invitation to present you a cognitive training program for people affected by MS. The training program is called MS Cognition. And I will show you what I will talk about during this 20 minutes. It's about, in the main focus will be the exercises of MS Cognition, but I will also give you some facts and motivation why we did this tool. I will shortly explain the objective and the project team. The main focus will be the exercises of MS Cognition, the structure of the exercises, and I will give you a short summary. So, why did we do this tool, MS Cognition? Today we heard a lot of MS symptoms, and cognitive problems are one of the symptoms for people affected with by MS. 45 to 65% of them have cognitive problems once or as a lasting symptom of their MS. This means 50% never will have cognitive problems. But for those who are dealing with cognitive problems, it's a very serious problem because this symptom is not visible. And it has influence on your everyday life, at home, at work, with your friends, in every situation. So it's very difficult to explain to others that you don't forget to write a very important email because you just thought of the party that was on the next day or something like that. So you will have problems with your colleagues to explain to them what it means to having these problems. So I hope that the tool will also give some help to people to explain to their surrounding what cognitive problems mean and how they influence their life. And that it's not about having good willing or not want to do something. The main functions affected by MS, the main cognitive functions are attention, which means doing several things at the same time, memory, learning new things, remembering things, and executive functions like finding the right word and giving structure to something. You see, all these areas are very important functions you have to work with every day. But the good news is brain functions can be trained, as Peter was saying. There is the possibility for an unspecific training and a specific training. Specific training means you have to have a diagnosis about which cognitive function you need to train most. But you can also do unspecific training like crosswords, Sudoku, Scrabble, memory, or whatever you want to do. So in one kind, MS Cognition is a sort of specific training because it says for which cognitive function it is important. But if you don't know if this is a function you need to train, especially, so it's a kind of specific, unspecific training, I would say. So why did we do this MS Cognition? It's about improving everyday life for people with MS, like everybody here of the speakers said. It's all about people with MS and their everyday life to make it a little bit easier to deal with all the problems they are occurring. The project team for this MS Cognition is the German MS Society, and the AMSEL as the chapter of the DMSG in Baden-Württemberg. I'm working at the AMSEL in Baden-Württemberg. As we have great experience in working with people affected by MS, the AMSEL is now in the 44th year of their existence. We have great experience with the problems, but we don't have a neuropsychologist at our organization. So we looked for a neuropsychologist to do this tool with us, because we need her or him as an expert. And of course, we needed a company for multimedia solutions to make the programming and everything else. So this is the structure of MS Cognition. It consists of three main parts. The main thing, the main thing is the cognitive training, so I should have put that on the first place, but I did now like I did it. So I will talk about this in detail, but what we wanted to do with this tool is also to give some information, some general information about cognitive problems, about the most important facts, how cognitive problems influence everyday life, and how a diagnosis of cognitive problems can be done. And we also wanted to give a short information about possibilities of therapy, of medical treatment and non-medical treatment, but in fact there are very rare medical treatment. It's all about non-medical treatment. So if you open our website and you go to MS Cognition, you will find this site. And now I apologize that it's all in German and I'm talking in English. But the good news is that this tool will also be available in Portuguese during the next year. So this is the reason why I'm standing here and explaining to you what will be coming in the future. So when you go to the website in 1 year or something like that, you will find this brain, and the brain is turning around, and along the brain there are the cognitive functions like alertness, like memory, and like executive functions, and it shows where these functions are located in the brain. So this is also very important. So if you know where you have the lesions, so it's clear that there may be some cognitive function influenced. Okay, so it's all about the cognitive functions, and I want to show you now a little bit more in detail the exercises we developed for the different cognitive functions. We have 3 exercises for the alertness, and I want to explain a little bit how the exercise works. Unfortunately, I cannot show it to you at the moment because of the technique here, but I can show it afterwards on my phone for everybody who wants to see it, or you can go on a website. I will give you the URL so you can have a look at it. So, barkeeper. In this exercise, it's all about focused alertness and concentration. Where do you need this focused alertness and concentration? For example, in working, you have a discussion or you have a meeting and you have to protocol at the same time. So you have to be focused and you have to be concentrated to follow the discussion and to write down the most important things. And we do the exercises working like that. You have a barkeeper and people are coming to your bar and they are ordering some drinks. At first there's only one row of person, there's only one person coming up and he orders a water, a juice or a coffee. You serve it to him. And if you do it within a several time and you do it several times in the right way, so there will be more people coming to your bar. There will be more rows coming up to your bar, and it's getting more complicated. And the upgrade, the most top level of this exercise is there are red-dressed YEP persons showing up, and if this person is showing up, it has to be served first. So this is a very interesting exercise, and I hope you will do it. We have a second exercise, which is about quick reactions. Why do you need quick reaction? For example, you're driving your car and a little child is running to the street. So you have to see the child, you have to press the brake to stop the car to avoid a traffic jam. So we have, to train this function, we have the exercise kickback. I will show it in detail a little bit later so that I show you a little bit more detailed, at least one exercise. We have a third exercise for the alertness, which is called fishing, and here it's about divided alertness. That means you have to catch all the fishes in a several time by clicking on them, but you have to avoid several fishes, which is shown in the instruction below. There you read no red fishes, and this instruction will change during the exercise. There will be said no blue fishes, no yellow fishes, or no blue and yellow fishes. So it's getting more and more complicated, and you have to do your best to solve the problem. We have 4 exercises for the memory, because the memory is necessary for very many tasks in your life. For your working memory, we have the exercise next to last. You see here a car, a horseshoe, and a rotor blade or motor kind of that. So you see it, then you start the exercise, and there will be only the red car, and the 2 other symbols will vanish. But you know, okay, next to the red car, next to last is the rotor, the motor, and not the horseshoe. So it will show you the horseshoe next, and you say, no, this is not the symbol I'm looking for. But when the motor shows up, then yes, this is right. But in the meanwhile, there are other symbols coming up, and you have to remember which was the symbol next to the last. Another function of for memory is your long-term memory. Therefore, we have the exercise memory row. It's a tricky exercise. I have to confess, I did all the exercises by myself, and I do them regularly because I personally am a big fan of this tool, because it helps me, although I'm not affected by MS, but I also have problems with cognitive functions at several times. So if I do all these exercises, I see if I'm tired, if I had a hard day, if I'm fresh, if I'm just concentrated or something like that. So this memory row, how will it work? You see these symbols at the beginning. There are only 5 symbols. You have to remember the symbols, and if you say, okay, I remembered them well, then you click on next slide, and then you have to solve some mathematics. And if you have done these 5 mathematics, you are asked, okay, which were the symbols you remember? And you have to remember them, and if they are in your long-term memory. And if you did it well, there is the next step. The number of symbols will increase, but it's always the same way. You have to remember the symbols, you have to do some mathematics, and then you have to remember and reconcile these symbols. We have a third exercise for the memory, which is remembering names. For many people, for me especially, it's very difficult to remember names. It's called Who Is It? How does it work? You are hosting, and there are 2 people showing up, and they are introduced to you. They say, okay, this is Mrs. Meyer, and Mrs. Meyer wants a coffee. And it says, the second person who is showing up is Mr. Miller, and he wants a Coke. So you say, okay, I remember it. Then the next phase is, do you have to put the Coke and the coffee to prepare it for your customers? And then you find a third slide, and then there are 4 persons. And you have to name you have to give Mr. Miller the Coke and Mrs. Meyer what did you want, a coffee? A coffee? And so it's getting more difficult with every step, because if the next phase is there are 2 more people are coming, and you have to remember their names, and you have to remember what they want to drink, and you have to remember the first 2 guests, the name of the first 2 guests. And it's going up to 8 persons, and so it's quite a little bit tricky, but it's a good exercise for all who cannot remember names like I do. I do this very often. The 4th exercise for the memory is about long-term memory and cognitive flexibility. It's called Troublemaker. You see there are these 3 cubes and the scheme of one of the cubes. So it's also about visual and spatial abstraction. So you have to decide which cube is formed out of this scheme. And if you do it, then there comes the troublemaker, and this is a person, and he gives you a shopping list. And he says, okay, you have to buy eggs and milk and bananas and something like that. And if you say, okay, I can remember the shopping list, then you go back to the cubes, and you do some more cubes and the schemes and try to solve to put the scheme to the right cube. And then at the end of the game, you are asked about the items on the shopping list. And so you have to remember these items, and then you have done it very well. It's all about concentration, it's about memory, long-term memory, short-term memory. A third area of exercises is about executive functions. We have 2 exercises for these executive functions. One is called word puzzle. It's about finding words out of a special area. You see there are some syllables on this slide, and there it's all about the kitchen. There are all things out of a kitchen, so you know a little bit what you are searching for. And you have to put the words together in the right way. The second exercise for executive functions is the service schedule. It's about planning and solving problems. And here you have 2 employees, and you see you have also the everyday shifts to organize with these employees. They can work only at several times, and they can only work on several hours. And there are also some additional needs you have to look for, but you have to put the schedule for your 2 employees. And here the exercise, the next step is there are coming more and more employees, and you have to do the schedule for them. So these are the exercises we have, and the exercises are structured the same way. They are all a 1-pager, which means one exercise is 1 page on your laptop or your desktop. So you can immediately start the exercise. It's for those who did it already and know how to do it. But if you do it the first time, it's perhaps better you read the instruction how to do the exercise. And there is given an extra explanation on which cognitive functions are related to this exercise, so you know why you should do it, and an example from everyday life for the cognitive function trained in the exercise. For example, for this, for the exercise kickback, it's like that. You can start.
It's Vicky. You have 2 more minutes.
I will get, yes,
okay.
I will be finished in 1.5. It's about, you can start the exercise immediately. Here you get the instruction how you to do it, which cognitive skills will be trained, and what means it for your everyday life. And you get a feedback. This is very important. When you do any of these exercises, you get a feedback, and this feedback will be followed up, so you see if you improve or if you had a bad day or something like that. And kickback is the exercise I wanted to show you here live, but now I do it like that. So you see two symbols. The symbol above is the reference symbol. So you have to look if the symbol below is the same, yes or no, is not. Next step is you have one symbol above, but 4 in the field below to compare with the symbol. Next step is you have 9 in the field below to compare with the symbol. And it's getting trickier in the next step. You have 2 identical symbols to identify with the 9 below. And the most difficult step is you have 2 different symbols to find down in this exercise. So here also you get feedback. And to sum up, cognitive problems are a very common symptom with MS. And as we heard from Tina, there are even 70% without treatment. This is a very enormous number. A specific training requires a specific diagnosis, and I think Francisco will talk about this later. And cognitive problems can be trained and be improved. And if you cannot wait to do one of the exercises, some of them are intuitive and you can do them without knowing German. Please go on www.amsel.de/ms-cognition or come to me and I will show it on my phone and you can try some of the exercises we want afterwards. So thank you very much for your attention and I wish you great pleasure and improvement of your cognitive skills when this tool is available on Portuguese. Thank you very much.